Sarah, a young adult brimming with anticipation, eagerly embraced the prospect of embarking on her post-secondary education. With unwavering determination, she had devoted herself to academic excellence throughout high school, securing a coveted spot at a university located just an hour away from her hometown. Sarah's parents, filled with an overwhelming sense of pride, had always strived to nurture her independence and instill in her the courage to pursue her dreams. With tearful goodbyes, Sarah's parents left her at the dorm, commencing her transformative journey. College, a thrilling phase, held the promise of personal growth as Sarah aimed to flourish into her adult self. Sarah's initial years in the program were a resounding success, but her fate took a dramatic turn when she encountered Henry, a psychology student slightly ahead in years. Serendipitous encounters during their shared academic pursuits became a regular occurrence, forging a connection that would shape the trajectory of Sarah's future. Their connection was instantaneous, love igniting between them from the moment they met. In a matter of days, they had exchanged numbers and eagerly made plans to study side by side. The way they naturally gravitated towards each other was an embodiment of romance and tenderness, at least in their own eyes. However, Sarah's parents, during a visit one weekend, had the chance to meet Henry. Observant and concerned, they couldn't help but notice the noticeable change in their daughter since his arrival. Once consumed by her educational pursuits, Sarah now seemed to neglect her studies, falling behind as her focus shifted towards Henry and their relationship. Sarah's parents warned her that changing so much for a relationship was dangerous. Things escalated at the end of that year when Sarah announced that she would not be doing the final year of her degree. Instead, she would prioritize her relationship with Henry. Her parents begged her to wait until after she had got her degree, but their concerns were met with the deaf ears. So, Henry and Sarah moved away together far from her parents and the university. Henry had found a job in forestry that he thought would lead to big things. The couple moved deep into the woods and began establishing a quiet life together. At first, living in a little cottage nestled in a small corner of a vast forest seemed like a fairy tale. As the time went on, however, the novelty of this new lifestyle wore off. Henry was gone in the forest between 12 and 14 hours a day, and when he came back, he was exhausted. Sarah felt isolated, like her only companion was too busy for her. The couple tried to work through this as best they could. It was inevitable, though, that Sarah would be alone for the majority of her time. To compensate for the lack of human interaction, Sarah invested a lot of work to make her property animal-friendly. She had particular luck attracting ravens, so she got others of bird feuded to set up all around the cottage. For a few weeks, Sarah even helped an injured raven recuperate. Its leg had broken, so Sarah made a teeny cast for it. After a few weeks, the raven came back and she gently removed the cast before watching it fly away towards a new phase of its life. After around a year of living in their fairy tale cottage, the situation developed even further. Sarah was pregnant. She was excited and nervous about becoming a mother. Her trepidation grew as she came to term, because Henry was pulling away a bit and spending even more time out of the home, but they were young. She thought that perhaps Henry was nervous too, and working was an outlet for him. When the time came to deliver the baby, Sarah and Henry were met with a very big surprise. They had conceived twins. They both were beautiful and healthy, and their birth felt like an absolute miracle to Sarah and her parents. It was not obvious at first, but slowly over time, Henry let his opinion be known. He did not like the surprise of a second baby. He was anticipating being kept up all hours of the night and also begrudged the twins for costing him twice as much as he had budgeted. Henry made his displeasure known by complaining constantly to Sarah about money and putting pressure on her to suddenly find employment. These wishes were unrealistic and completely neglected Sarah's experience as a first-time mother who had just given birth to twins. Sarah needed to recuperate, but struggled to do so on top of caring for the babies in the house. Moreover, Henry started to become jealous of the babies. Before the children, Sarah waited on him hand and foot, but now she was too preoccupied to pamper him. This was a turning point in the couple's relationship. Henry took up drinking, and before long his pastime became an addiction. Tensions between them grew as he refused to do any housework or parenting, claiming that he had already done his part by working all day. Sarah tried to still cook and clean and tend to the babies, while also giving Henry the royal treatment. It was impossible for her to accomplish all of this, though, and things often slipped through the cracks. Something like leaving the dishes in the sink while she changed the diaper would set Henry off into a rage. He would say that he needed more alcohol to tolerate his wife and children, and the family's finances quickly began to dwindle. Sarah had some relief for a few weeks when Henry decided he would stay out in the forest to sleep away from her and the twins. With just her, the babies and the birds, Sarah could catch a glimpse of the fairy tale life she'd lost over the months. A life of love and peace. Sarah confronted her deep-seated unhappiness and engaged in heartfelt conversations with her mother, leading to a decision to return to her parental home. During Henry's prolonged absence, Sarah contemplated leaving him a note and seeking solace with her parents. However, just as she contemplated her next move, Henry emerged from the woods disheveled and unsteady. Concerned for his well-being, Sarah hastily placed the twins in their crib and rushed out to meet him, putting their immediate safety above all else. When she got to him, she asked if he was hurt, and he stuttered and stumbled towards their barn in response. Sarah wondered what he might need from there and followed him to the barn. Once inside, Henry's body language completely changed. He was now looking more sober than ever. He pushed Sarah to the ground and ran out of the barn, locking it behind him, horrified. Sarah immediately looked for a way out of the barn. She saw through a window that Henry had taken her babies and was striding confidently back into the woods. Sarah's heart pounded and her blood roared in her ears. She grabbed some tools and smashed the window open. She crawled out of the barn, scared and desperate. Sarah ran the direction where Henry had gone. She did not know the lad nearly as well as him, though, and soon she felt lost and unsure of where to go. Panic set in as Sarah paused to think about which direction she should head in. She felt hopeless, but then an extremely unlikely hero appeared. She was shaking and crying until a raven swooped down and perched on a tree branch just a few feet in front of her. The bird stretched out its wings and then flew a short distance away at a loss. Sarah followed it. They continued this pattern for hours until the raven finally led Sarah to a cave. Overwhelmed by the cries, Sarah realized that the raven had guided her to her children. With gratitude filling her eyes, she noticed the raven's slightly crooked leg, recognizing it as the one she had once aided. Determined, Sarah wasted no time. Sneaking into the cave, she moved towards the cries and found her scared yet unharmed twins. Embracing them tightly, she relied on the raven's remarkable assistance once again, safely navigating out of the woods. Rather than returning home, she hurried to the local police station, recounting the ordeal. Although the authorities urged her to remain for further questioning, Sarah made a swift decision to take her children and return to her parents without delay. She had devoted her prime years to a deceitful man who had jeopardized their children's safety, and she vowed to erase him from her thoughts forever. Sarah's gratitude for the raven's assistance never faded. Even after relocating to the city, she continued to nourish the little birds that occasionally graced her balcony, cherishing them as a tribute to her beloved hero. What did you think of the story? Tell us in the comments below. I hope you liked this story. Please share and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.